Right, gentlemen, you guys are doing a fabulous job with your construction. Next on the list is drawing the electrical plan so that you can begin wiring. Nobody can wire until I approve your electrical plans. You will be graded on whether your plans match your wiring, whether the wiring matches your plans. So if the plans are drawn correctly, the wiring should be very simple. So what you see here on the screen is just a practice sheet that you all have been emailed that you can practice on drawing the electrical plans before you draw it on your floor plans. So this is just another floor plan of a bedroom with a master bathroom and a master closet. This area here just leads into a hallway. So this would be considered the hallway going back, right? So we're just worried about the house, right, where it is. So a couple pointers, if we think about how we want our house wired, so we desire to have it in parallel. And why would that be? So that everything can work, right? Is independent. We can turn on lights upstairs, shut them off downstairs, and they don't affect one another. Each element gets the total voltage, gets the same voltage, and therefore the most power. So those are the two main reasons we know we want this house to be wired in parallel. Well, what does parallel mean? Parallel simply means you have a common connection with positive and a common connection with negative. Once you have that positive and negative, all you're doing is plugging in and connecting to those things, if that's your light. You can simply connect to those things by coming down here and putting a light here and going back. All that must be true is that those are connected to positive and negative. That would be considered in parallel. If I want my object to have a switch in it, I simply come from my positive, go to my switch, leave my switch, go to my light, go back down to negative. Remember that this symbol here means no connection. If I have a jump like that, right? So that would remind me that we have no connection. And I always, when we are drawing electrical plans, always put switches on the negative. On the negative line. Okay, so we can leave here. And what I would have preferred here then is I leave my positive, jump over my negative, go to my light bulb, leave my light bulb, go to my switch, so that when I leave my switch, I go back to negative. All of these lights would be in parallel, and I could symbolize that same drawing or have it drawn like this, just the same. And that be negative, with one light being here. The next light is there, that's this light. This light I left the positive, went to a switch, leave the switch, go to light, leave to negative. This one over here, I did my light first, then left and went to the switch. So these two pictures are the same. All that's important is that they are connected that way. Doesn't matter necessarily how we draw them. What matters is the connection. So keep that in mind when I want to make these connections fit our floor plan. So the first thing I definitely need is a positive line. So I'm going to go ahead and keep red as our positive. And the easiest thing to do is just take that positive all around the rooms in which you want to wire. So I'm going to write that, say that I have positive here. I'm going to take a straight edge. You can't see, but I am using a straight edge to draw these lines nice and straight, and I'm matching the outline of my house. So as I draw these lines, I want them to match the outside of this house. And I'm actually going to stop down here. I want to make sure everything is connected, all your corners, there's no gaps. And I can just branch that positive to go in here, thinking I might need that line in here. I'm going to use a different color to draw my negative. So for that, I'm going to use blue since my walls are already drawn in black. And even though these lines should go inside the walls, I'm going to draw them outside so that they easily stand out. So when I come down here, remember you don't want the positive and negative to touch. So I'm going to jump over that positive and go around. So now I have my positive and negative. So now what I have to do is go back to my specifications. What I want in this house is a ceiling light and a switch for that ceiling light, 2 lights above the sink, and a switch in the bathroom. So for my objects, I'm going to use a neutral color. I'm just going to choose green. So let's say I want my green to be the objects. Of course, we would put the light in the center of the room. So I'm going to draw my light. I would want the switch to be by the door and by the area of the door in which it opens. So I'm going to put my switch here, clearly away from the wall, but knowing when I build it, I'm going to put it on the wall. I need 2 lights above the sink, so I'm going to put my 2 lights right here. Again, pulling them away just so it's not so messy. And my switch for those 2 lights should go right here. The other thing that's not mentioned on here, it says an outlet by the sink. A symbol for an outlet, if I bounce back to my whiteboard, our symbol for an outlet is simply a circle with 2 lines. Looks just like a plug. So wherever you want outlets anywhere, you are simply going to draw where you would want them. So in this room, I might want an outlet here. I might want one here against the wall, maybe in the middle of the wall over here, maybe along the wall right here. So those would be my outlets, okay? And I realize I did not bring my negative in here. So I'm going to come along here and bring my negative connected to this negative. Whoops. And draw that into the center. Okay? So now the key is that's where I want everything. Now I just have to connect everything for it to work. Outlets are very, very simple. They simply get connected to positive and negative. So I'm going to take this prong, take it to that negative. I'm going to take this prong, take it straight back to that negative, negative. One prong goes to negative, one prong goes to positive. So switching out my colors here. The other prong will go to the positive, jumping over the negative to get to the positive. So outlets are very, very simple. Jump over your negative, get to the positive, and over here, go to the positive. So those are my outlets, easily connected. It's when I plug into them that I connect the positive and negative. Now for my light, I'm going to go over to my whiteboard or scrap paper, and I'm going to think to myself, okay, if I just build a circuit, I have a power supply, I have my light, leave my light, go to the switch, leave the switch, go back to negative. That's how it has to be connected. So in my picture, I leave positive, go to light. Leave the light, go to the switch, leave the switch, go to negative. When I go to draw it, I have to do the same thing. I leave my positive and I go to my light. And I can use any positive. I can come down at the bottom and use a positive or at the top. I want everything drawn nice and square. Don't draw squiggly lines. Don't draw all over the place. Everything nice and even. When I leave my switch, my light, I go to my switch. So that is still considered a neutral line. So I'm going to use the green to take the line from my light to my switch. When I leave my switch, I then go to my negative right here. And that's it. That's how that's going to be wired. Now down here in the bathroom, that's going to be a little bit more challenging. In the bathroom, you have 2 lights operating off of 1 switch. So I'm going to go to my whiteboard and I'm going to ask myself, okay, now I'm going to have my battery. I want 2 lights, but I don't want those lights to affect one another. If one of them burns out, I want the other one to work. So I should put those 2 lights in parallel, right? So 2 lights in parallel. Now, if I want 1 switch to operate those lights, I need to put the switch where? You have two choices. It could go here, or it could go somewhere here. That if you want one switch to operate both of those lights. If you put the switches before the lights, then it only operates that one light. In general, your rule is you want the switch on the negative, so I'm going to put the switch down here. So to connect it, make my switch. That switch then will shut off both of those lights. So I leave my positive, I go to each light. When I leave each light, I go to the same part of the switch right here. So let's go back to our picture. Each light leaves positive. So each light must go to a positive line, just like that. Each light must go to the switch. So if I go back to my switch. So each light comes out and goes to the same part of the switch, right? This part right here. When I leave my switch, I go back to negative. So leave my switch, go back to negative. So I want that to be my negative color. So leave my switch, go back to negative. So what I would like you to do is practice that on this sheet before you go to your floor plans. I will email each of you, whoops, go back to this. You each have floor plans. This is upstairs and downstairs. Depending on your section, I want you to print your section, and then you are to draw in the wiring. So begin with positive and negative, right? So if I go back to here, I will begin, let's say I have these two bedrooms, by drawing in my positive line. And I'm going to run it all the way around the same outline as the actual house part, right? So if I'm in charge of this section, I can run my wires like this. They can just begin and they can just end. If I go back to here, right? Parallel lines, they can just begin and they can just end. They do not connect together, okay? Otherwise you would have a short circuit. And then you add in your negatives and you decide where do you want your lights, where would you put switches, and you're going to decide all that based on the specifications. And I don't think I pulled up specifications. Let me pull those up real quick. Okay, so you have specifications for upstairs and downstairs, right? So if upstairs, if I had bedrooms 2 and 3, if I look under the bedrooms, for each bedroom I need a ceiling light, a switch to operate the light, a ceiling fan, and outlets. This part on this side, the fixtures, this is going to be used for power when we are collecting the electrical bill. So you don't have to be looking at that. This is what you want to look at to determine what you have to put in. So if I have bedroom 2 and 3, as I said, when I look at my floor plans, right here, right? All right, so bedrooms 2 and 3 had lights. So I should go in and put my lights in a neutral color. Of course, I would want that light in the middle of the room. It also has a ceiling fan. So I'm actually going to put those beside each other. I don't have a device that's going to be able to build your fan and light together. And I want 2 separate switches operating those. So over here, I need a switch for my light, and I'm going to need a switch for my fan. And then I want outlets, right? So I should put outlets evenly spaced. I might want an outlet under each of my windows here, and maybe one over here on this wall, assuming I put a bed over there. So your task now is to connect all that. So again, go back to your specifications, take a look at what's listed for your section that you're working on, right? Print out your floor plans for your upstairs or downstairs and draw as best as you can those electrical plans. I want to see some of those electrical plans, or I want to see them all by Wednesday, Thursday, so that I can look at them and return them to you so you can have them completed by Friday. So I want the electrical plans for your section turned in on Wednesday. even if you're working in partners. So if you and your partner have split up these two, you guys decide who's drawing which section, or you both can draw each section and tell me, compare one another's. So one thing that you will see in your electrical plans is something called a three-way switch. And where that would be used is in a hallway like this, in which maybe when I come up the stairs, I might want switches here to be turning on lights, and then I want to be able to go in my bedroom and shut them off. So these two switches, one here and one here, operate maybe the same light in the hallway. And I would want that because I want to see and turn on the light, but then when I go in my bedroom, I want to shut it off. So you want two light switches operating the same light. So all I'm going to do is give you the drawing that make that work. It's called a three-way because each of the switches have three connections, not two. Okay, so for this is for your three-way switch. One light, two switches. Now, keep in mind, well, I'll go ahead and do this. Okay. So basically, what happens here is both switches get connected to negative. That's your symbol for ground. That's your negative. Both switches get connected to each other. So you use a neutral wire to connect the middles. Both tops get connected to each other, and they both go to the light, or whatever it is you're trying to work. When you leave the light, you are then going to go to positive. So you could take this line and go right to the light if that's quicker, or you can connect the two switches across and then go to the light. But this is your connection for a three-way switch. This is switch 1, and this is switch 2. Again, it has actually 3 connections. You would use all 3 prongs on that connection. So a good place for a three-way switch, like I said, would be 2 places where you want to operate the same light. Now keep in mind, this is somebody's dream house, right? So if you see things where you think you would want something, maybe a three-way switch, maybe another light, maybe a ceiling fan, part of your job in this project is to make recommendations. Where would you put another light? Maybe you put a light in a different place. Maybe you put 2 of them instead of 1. A bathroom is a good example. This is a very large bathroom. I would not have 1 light in the middle. I'd actually like to have a light above the shower and then the 2 above the sink, or you can have 1 right here. If that's not in the specifications, then you put that in. You say this is what we would recommend. All right, so for class on Wednesday, I want you to practice drawing these electrical plans, review that. Do it for your plans by taking a look at the specifications. So these sheets I have sent you, only print off the ones that were relevant to your section of the house that you have. On Wednesday, bring me in these electrical plans or drawings. If you are online, the expectation will be that you will be sending me pictures of those. The construction, so if you want to make plans, I should be able to stay after school. The construction must be done by Thursday after class, with the idea that we're going to begin wiring by Friday. So that means you'll have Wednesday and Thursday to really be completing construction. Tommy and Corey, you're the 2 that have not done any construction at all, so it's essential that your electrical plans are done. And maybe we can recruit you to do electrical plans for other sections while they build your part. All right, I hope that helps. You guys have a great evening.